I have compiled all the very important stats on every type of item in the Chronix PoE2 compendium that is going to be iterated on and will have stuff added as we make new findings for league mechanics and so on and so forth. Due to the previous videos, I have sat down and noted every important stat that is going to be usable for your build. Obviously, I do have the problem of not knowing exactly what type of build you are currently playing. So this is a generalized list, which is not really possible that well, because obviously so many builds exist and so many builds have different priorities. For example, there are builds that do not have any maximum life scaling whatsoever because they reduce their HP literally to 1. And obviously, for those builds, stacking maximum life, for example, is completely irrelevant. On the other side, there is builds that do not use mana and instead spend their HP. So obviously, mana for those builds is absolutely irrelevant. This goes to show you how hard it is going to be to make a generalized item priority list. This is what I try to do here, so bear with me that there might be some stuff not perfectly applicable for your build, but in general, this is going to give you an idea of what to look for in a stat or in a item slot rather, depending on the build that you are playing. But when it comes to finding out how to scale your damage or what stats actually helps you scale your damage, we have to take a look in game. Here on the skills section, if we take any of the skills, let's take explosive shot for example, well, holding Alt, you can actually take the tooltip right here and drag it around. This is going to enable you with a lot of options. Right now, I'm not holding Alt anymore. Therefore, I can detach my mouse from the window right here. And now, to actually find out how to scale the damage of Explosive Shot, I have to look at the tags. And you can find the tags right here. So if I have something that increases the damage of area of effect spells, then that would apply to my explosive shot as it has the AoE tag. Same applies to ammunition, projectile, fire, and detonate. I could also just find this out for something completely different. For example, for Comet or Ball Lightning. We can see that Ball Lightning scales with AoE, projectile, sustained, and lightning. So if I wanted to scale my lightning damage now for the Ball Lightning on the stats, I would now know that I need to go for increases to lightning damage. And this also is possible on the Atlas tree. If we stick with the Ball Lightning example, if you type in lightning here at the very top, you can see that stuff that is speaking to lightning now lights up. You can see, for example, here with the overload, if I allocate this, damage now penetrates 15% of lightning resistance. We have more penetration here. We have more attack and cast speed with lightning skills. We have more, we have increased lightning damage. We have chance for lightning skills to chain an additional time. And this is how you actually start creating your own build and take the skill that you have chosen to work with and actually take it to the next level in terms of damage. So let's start out with the weapons here. We do have a two-handed mace and a crossbow here. Obviously, you can change that as well to a bow, for example. And right here above those, I have listed the stats that are, in my opinion, important for this. As you can see right here, I started off with damage. And there is stuff like % increased physical damage, and there is things like % increased physical damage with a lower value than the previous one, but also giving you accuracy. All of those things are really good on the two-handed maces. And then flat fist, flat alley, and % increased alley. Those are all basically very important for you to start dealing damage. The problem with this is though, again, as I said in the beginning of the video, I do not know what build you are currently playing. If you're doing a lot of frost damage, then probably a lot of increases to your frost damage are gonna be really good. Usually you have some form of conversion going on for your builds. This means, for example, on the mercenary that I'm playing right now, there is a lot of conversion going on where it takes all of your physical damage and converts it to fire. So obviously, naturally, you want to scale your physical damage that then gets converted to fire. Again, very generally speaking, there is no chance I can predict what you are playing, and I can't therefore give you exactly the thing that you need to focus on. If you are looking for something like that, then I would suggest checking out the Maxroll website right here. We do have our certified Maxroll builds, and you have all of the creators' builds right here that are going to show you not only the skills and supports that you need to use, but they're also going to show you the passive tree that you need to use, and also will have a notes section in there as well. For example, here you can see the equipment, here you can see the supports, and so on. But back to the stat sheet. Then the same applies also for crossbows. This could also be a bow right here. And then it's a little bit different, obviously, due to the inherent stats present on a staff, for example. Here you can see that there is still damage, but it's going to appear differently. In this case, you have percent spell damage or percent ally damage, but you also still have level 2 skills, cast speed, mana regeneration, attributes, percent chance for ailment, which means chill and stuff like that. So those are the things that you want to look at and want to find on a staff, and then make them applicable for your build. Next up, we do have the armor pieces, and don't look at the icons. I have just chosen the armor bases, but this is obviously also applicable for all of the hybrid bases and evasion bases, and also the energy shield bases. Usually, especially during the campaign, you really want to focus on maxing your resistances right here. That's why I put it to the top. Obviously, at level 10, you're not gonna be res capped, but what you can do instead is you can stack a lot of maximum life. I have added the /mana here as well, because I didn't have that much space on the sheet, but remember that resistances and maximum life are what you are mainly looking for to get you through the campaign in a timely and safe fashion. Then I also noted down defenses, which is basically your defense. So if you are scaling energy shield, this point right here means that you are looking for percent increases to energy shield, flat additive things to energy shield. That is what the defense note that I put here encompasses. Same applies exactly to the chests. You can see resistance, max life, defense, exactly the same thing. Where it differs a little bit is on the gloves. Here you can see that we also have stuff like flat physical and flat elemental damage. We do have attack speed on top of all of the other previous stats that all of the other armor slots already have. Belt is also a little bit special, as well as the boots. For the belt, for example, you also have some armor in there. Obviously, if your character does not care about armor, then this doesn't point to you. Then, extremely important for the boots, you really want to have movement speed in this game, even more so than Path of Exile 1, because we don't have that much access to movement abilities. And then it's exactly the same thing. You want resistances, you want max life, you want your build's defense, speak, evasion rating, armor, energy shield, maybe a mix of those. Then life regeneration and attributes. Then for the jewelry, you can see right here, there is actually a ton of stuff that can roll on the jewelry. And I have noted down the most important things, trying to make it as general as possible. Please keep in mind that if your character does not use any spells, then obviously the spell damage is absolutely irrelevant for your character. I've just noted it down here because this is something that can roll and would generally be important. You have stuff like percent armor, percent evasion, and percent energy shield increases. Obviously, again, you have maximum life and mana. Let me add this right here. And you can also roll spirit, for example, which is actually present on the chest as well. So let me add this here as well. Very important, for example, for minion builds. But obviously, if you don't care about having additional auras, then the spirit is also not relevant for your build. You have percent life, level 2 skills, a lot of things actually on the amulet. You do have something very interesting here, that is recoup. It recoups damage that you take over 8 seconds, either as life or as mana, depending on what you roll. For the rings, we do have a little bit of a mix of all the previous item slots, because we do have flat fizz and flat elemental damage that can roll on there. We also do have percent ele increases, so cold, lightning, fire, stuff like that, and also chaos damage on the rings present. So obviously, if you are a lightning build and you have troubles with your damage, you really want to find a ring with percent lightning damage, for example. But regardless of that, the same concept applies where you want to find maximum life and resistances always on the rings too. Further down the road in late endgame, you will actually be able to cap your resistances with your armor and also through other sources, which then opens up the suffixes on the rings where you can start doing different things. But until you get there, it's very important to always have maximum life and as many resistances on your ring as possible, and only then start looking at the additional damage that you can grab on the ring slot. Then for the shields, you can see right here, we do have block chance, again, defenses. I have used this shield right here, but again, there's different ones. You can get armor evasion rating shields, you can get armor shields, stuff like that is encompassed in the defenses right here. Then you want to have max life, fizz reduction, max resistances, and also resistances on your shield are going to be something that you are looking for. Of course, again, if you build does not care about max resistances or block chains or maximum life, well, then disregard that for your specific build. Then quiver, right here, your build probably is not going to use a quiver, but if you're looking, if you have a bow equipped, then obviously you are going to also equip a quiver. Here you are looking for flat physical or flat elemental damage. Then there is percent increases for damage with bows. There's stuff like projectile speed, level of projectile skills. Then there's also crit chance, attack speed attributes, and pierce. Here you have to be very careful with the pierce. The pierce can sometimes disable your build. For example, explosive arrow was something in the past that could instantly be disabled with pierce because the projectile wasn't dealing the damage, but the explosion of the projectile was dealing the damage. So therefore, when the projectile pierces and the damage of the projectile doesn't matter, and it pierced to, I don't know, a terrain that is behind a target and then exploded, it obviously wasn't dealing damage. So definitely keep an eye out for the pierce. If your main projectile does the damage, then pierce shouldn't really be a big problem for you. Whereas if it does something a little bit more weird than that, then watch out with pierce. Explosive shot for the crossbow builds, for example, is exactly that problem. It's not that tremendous, but this is just an example for that. Then we also, last but not least, have the spirit shields, where you have the defense values as well. You have spell damage and spell physical damage, as well as elemental damage. You have levels to skills. All of this is basically important for you if your build uses a spirit shield right here. This is also going to enable you to keep it up on the second screen. If you want to play around with the size of this, don't forget that you can change the size. For example, you can just make it 2/3 as big and then put it off to your second monitor so that you can have it open for your time when gaming. And yeah, if you want to change something here, very important, you can go to File, you can go to Make a Copy, and that is going to allow you to do and to make changes to this. You can maybe add some stuff, you can delete some stuff for your specific build. The only problem is that when you do a copy, when you create a copy, then the changes that I'm making to the master document, that is this here, and that is also linked down in the description below, are not going to be updated in your document. So it's probably a good idea to sometimes return to this video or the Chronix PoE2 compendium to be able to fetch the most up-to-date version of this sheet right here. I will take your guys' feedback and will implement this into this spreadsheet so that we can have a living document that is going to be improved as we go. I'm blasting much more red maps with my level 90 Witch Hunter. If you're interested in that or you have any other questions to Path of Exile 2, I'm live right now. The Twitch link is down in the description below, as well as the spreadsheet. And if you like content similar to this, make sure to subscribe to this YouTube channel, and I'll see you next time.